Hi, welcome to our podcast. So, this time we are doing In the Country We Love with Diane Guerrero. She is from Orange is the New Black and Jane the Virgin. I've watched Orange is the New Black. I haven't seen Jane the Virgin.
I saw Jane the Virgin. She was good in it.
Yeah.
Never heard of her.
Yeah.
Orange is the New Black, no?
No veo
I've seen
tele.
that one's good.
Girl.
Ay, amiga.
Pues si quieres estás leyendo el libro.
Yeah.
So we are on week 2. We're going to be covering pages 1 through 57. So if you guys haven't caught up on your reading,
This is a good time to do it.
yes, pause us, go catch up.
Spoiler alert.
Yes. So let me see. I highlighted my stuff because that's important, and I want to go into. Okay, so I'm Mexican, right? And I know in our last book it touched roots because obviously she was Mexican. They were from Jalisco. So her family's from Colombia.
Yeah.
So I thought that was different. Their culture is different. When they would talk about the food they would make.
Sanocho or something like that.
Not just that, it was funny when she talks about how the rivals were the Puerto Rican and the Dominican. Like, it shows us that even though we're all Latinas,
I never thought of that.
Yeah. I was like, what?
I mean, like, us Mexicans, I don't think we have so much, like, soy de Jalisco. No.
No, but I mean, like we kind of clash with, like, other countries. Like, if they say, oh, are you from El Salvador? Are you from Guatemala? It's just
that's true.
in that part of where she is in the United States, it's Dominicans, Puerto Ricans,
Yes.
and then Mexicans, yeah.
That's true. So that stood out to me how their culture is a little different and their cooking as well and their language. The chibola, it's I guess a Peruvian what her dad calls her.
Like a cute little girl, right?
Yeah, so that's
I
stood out to
didn't
me.
know what that was either.
It's just a way of like, it's como
I was
nosotros,
thinking
you know,
chiquilla.
chiquillo or escuincle. I don't know. Like,
Escuincle.
we all, you know, at least from Guerrero, like we have different, every state has their different lingo. So
Yeah,
that stood out too. And what else I was kind of like moved by?
So you do highlight.
I do. I highlight because I feel like that kind of helps me keep on track. And I like how she calls her mom, mommy, and papi. Because you know, typical Mexicans, ama or apa.
Papa, sí.
I do
That's
the whole mommy and papi. So even till this day, and I'm almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next thing that stood out to me was on page 14. I know she went into the whole religion part, right? And it really stood out to me how she talks about the community, about how they're closer, all immigrant communities. I didn't grow up with that, where like all of undocumented people, immigrants got together.
But your family has 300 people in it.
Well, that's true, right?
Yeah, like
It's a big family.
Like,
that's over here.
realistically, her family was small, and so our family, well, we're related.
Yeah.
So our family is a community in itself because there's like 300 of us. Your best friends were
Support
all
group.
cousins.
Yeah,
We went clubbing and we were all cousins.
that's true.
So it was different.
Yeah, that one was like, whoa. I didn't grow up with going to like the vecinos parties and all of that. So
No.
I thought that was kind of okay. And something else, going back to the religion, what page was that? Let me find it. Where
It's
she
like
hits
closer
herself.
to the end. It's
Yeah. 44.
44, yeah.
I was like, why is she hitting herself?
It's kind of like an extremist approach.
Is that like where?
Yeah, like, why is she doing that? Why is she so like, first of all, I know like, she doesn't really talk about how they're super duper religious, but why? I don't understand why she would beat herself up if she's.
So it's called the Catholic guilt. So like when people are really invested in the religion, it's kind of self-punishment. So like she says, I punish myself before God can.
She'll start doing all the rituals of saying sorry and stuff.
Yeah, that stood out to me, and I'm like, damn, like my little one's obviously in private Catholic school, and I don't want her to end up punishing herself. You know, like that came to me. I'm
feel
like,
that
shit,
guilt.
like I don't want her to have that Catholic guilt. So
Well, I mean, my son's in a Catholic school, and I think sometimes, like, he would come home and he'd be like, I just learned this. And I was like, well, let me tell you our version of it. It's kind of like, it depends on the influence of the parent, because he has obviously a lot of the religious beliefs. However, there are those varying factors where I'm like, no, I'm a very progressive woman, so, you know, we're going to talk about other things and be accepting of other people and, you know.
The society we're in.
Yeah. And then, last for me, algo que repiten often, nuestra situación no está resuelta. Like, that kept being repeated and repeated. And so I want to share about my experience. My parents came here in their early 20s. Mm-hmm. And obviously they came in through the typical, they were smuggled in, you know, through a coyote. And my dad came first. My dad actually went first to Chicago, and he was there first, and that's where he started, you know, working at a restaurant. And then after that, he brought my mom along, and my brother was born in Mexico. Then they came to California, helped through family, you know, he got established. But he was lucky enough or blessed, you know, to be able to become a resident.
Well,
but I think it was where she talks about the years, right, on how a law passed by. So
it was during Reagan that our parents got their papers.
Exactly.
Both of our dads.
You know, it's just like, unfortunately, you know, a lot of people come over here hoping to live the American dream. And it really does fail for some people, especially for some immigrants. And even us that were from here. I'm still trying to accomplish my American dream. And being an immigrant is not an issue for me. Now, I cannot even imagine the people that are not from here. And it's like, man, it's mind-blowing on how many obstacles. Mm-hmm. So I think you guys should share your experiences, your family as well, being immigrants.
Well, for me, you know, my mom was born here. So, you know, and it's interesting because my grandma talks about when she came to the United States. And she talks about how you just walked through the border. Like, in the 70s, no one questioned you. It was like open border. Mm-hmm. And the thing was that in the 70s, Mexico wasn't as impoverished as it is now, right? And so then our dads, right, they grew up in Guerrero in this little ranchito, where when we go back to our ranchito, you know, there's no stores, there's no there's no factories where they could get jobs, no restaurants, so the resources are limited, you know, and so that's why they came. And yeah, during the Reagan administration, when they passed the amnesty, that's when both of our dads got papers. And it was sad though for her family.
They missed it.
So, and not just that, like she missed it
by like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the crazy thing is our parents came in, you know, they crossed the border illegally, and that probably helped them at that point. Mm-hmm. And you know, they came in on visas, which means they actually violated their visa.
Their terms, yeah.
So at that point, it's like, and we talk about like, I know that I'm going to talk a little bit about politics, but how hard it is to actually get documents, right? Everyone wants to do it the legal way, but it's like really hard.
It's so hard that it forces them to just be here illegally.
When did your parents get their papers?
My parents, they both crossed illegally as well with coyotes. My dad then later got his residency, so he's still to this day a resident. My mom ended up becoming an American citizen.
Awesome.
I think I was like, I don't know, maybe like 12. I still didn't really get it, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't really get it then. Now that we're going through all this, it's like, wow, how amazing. My mom does not have to worry about that. She did the whole test and everything. And it was amazing. My mom always tried to push my dad. My dad didn't really care for it. He goes, no, like, I'm fine. Resident is good enough.
Yeah.
And he was fine with
and
that.
And that's funny because she talks about how her dad's so resistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the post that I put yesterday where she talks about, like, hiding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, staying quiet,
and
not raising
those
too
jobs.
Yeah. Not calling too much attention to yourself. I think what a pressure for the men in our culture.
Right.
That's so
they had to
true.
work something like a very low job position to not be seen or, you know.
Do you know why your dad doesn't want to become, like, has he talked about it with you?
He's never, and we've never really talked about it. So we're just like, well, as long as you're safe and you're here, you're not going to get deported, then we're good.
Yeah, my dad is a USA citizen and my mom is too. My dad did it first. My dad actually fixed papers for other relatives too. So
yeah, my dad's done that too.
I remember like helping them with their tests and the flashcards, and they went to classes. So looking back, it's something that I'm really proud. I'm like, okay, this is important. Back then, like you said, Vero, we're like, what? Like we didn't understand. And now it's like I can honestly say like I'm really grateful that at least they have that.
Yeah, it's a big impact.
They're USA citizens.
And it's good that they don't have to be like she was so scared, the family's so scared, and
Or like the dad talking to her, preparing her in case you come home and we're not there. Like a preparation of that, of, you know, parents getting stripped away and, you know, preparing your child.
Like we were scared of the policía, right? Te va a llevar la policía.
Sí.
But this is a whole other level where it's like they're gonna take your parents away. Like
when she acted up and she says, "I'm gonna call the cops," and she goes,
"Oh," and her mom,
"Call the cops, and they're gonna take us away." And that's just where it hit her.
Yeah.
So that's where it hit me in this book, where I was like, "Oh my God!" Like that is so true. We never talked about it in our household where that easily my parents could get taken away or family members, and there were so many instances also that as kids we were like, you hit me and I'm going to call the cops, or you don't let me go to my friend's party and I'm going to call the cops or something. You're holding me back. You know, some little huevitos that we don't have. But yeah, I mean, it's so sad that it hit her at that moment that it's like, wow, life can change that quick if I do that one call.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy because the amount of work that it takes to even become a resident and all that, like we were saying,
so much time.
Yeah, and like you were talking about your parents studying to be a citizen, like we've never had to try to be citizens. Like we probably don't know half of the questions on that test, right? And to be a child and be like, let me help them study. I remember my dad trying to learn English, and we would make so much fun of him because we were kids, you know, and you don't realize like how painful something like that can be. And now looking back, it's like, damn, like they struggle with the language.
Like my dad was really trying, and I was just making fun of him. Yeah, that's so true. I think another thing that stood out for me was also just always being the interpreter for your parent. Going to places with them because they need an interpreter, or them bringing back paperwork and having to translate and tell them, it says here this, so have you, haven't you? And just filling it out, but not really even understanding the answers or the questions. But
you're a kid.
Yeah. And your parents also just trusting you completely with these applications or words of you telling them the right stuff.
Imagine you like fuck something up or give out their information when you shouldn't.
And then things happen all the time because, like, you know, our people in our culture, they get screwed by lawyers and by like. Remember when like the housing thing was going on, everyone was like trusting someone to refinance.
Oh, that's so
and
sad.
that happens till this day, like from my experience with my parents too. Yeah, it's just, you know, so muchas cosas que I feel like, you know, the Latin community needs to educate themselves and feel a little more confident, like own it. You know, you are part of this country, like stand up for your rights. But I feel like even those that are citizens todavía tienen el miedo. They still have that fear.
And it's really interesting because like learning your rights, you know, so I'm a therapist, right? And I have a lot of undocumented patients, right? And I had to educate them like, hey, you know, I hope you wrote a letter. Who are your kids going to stay with if you get deported? I've had to help them. I've had to help them write letters and be very aware, like, hey, who's keeping these kids? Because, and it's sad because we got trained by a lawyer that said, this is the reality now. They all have to have a letter. And you hear about kids, like she said, she went under the radar. Her parents left and there was no social worker sent. No one knew she went to school, didn't go to school. And that's what happens to these children. And so I've had to train people, and I've had patients that are like, I don't have any family here. And I'm like, who are those children staying with?
Damn.
Neighbors.
So can you imagine like our children going through that?
No. No, heck no.
Such a hard decision.
Yeah.
It's insane.
You don't even want to think about it. It's like, no, I don't want to choose anybody. They're going to stay with me.
No, and like I said, I didn't experience it firsthand, but I think about like my dad's brothers, where they're still immigrants, and I'm like, holy cow. And then another reason why I thought about them was because they move a lot. She talks about how they move a lot because of their lease and what they can afford and rent, and I'm like, wow, like it's true. Till this day, people are still renting, and that's something that intrigued me too, to know like what are our rights. Like, ahorita, immigrants, can they buy a house? No,
it's a risk,
right?
Especially
like
right now.
Depends.
Right now, it's a risk. A lot of things are a risk. there are a lot of people that are undocumented and still opening businesses and, you know, buying houses. Like, there's ways to get it done. Yet, right now it's a fear, right? You hear of people getting snatched and, you know, like her mom thought she was doing the right thing by calling and trying to file for her paperwork, and that just led to her being taken. And so like, there's people that are afraid to even try to do the legal thing because, like, her dad from the beginning, like, no, if I give them all my information, they can deport me.
Yeah.
And it's just such a real thing right now. And, you know, it's true. You do have rights. You have the right to remain silent, which a lot of people don't realize they have that right. You have the right to not sign any documents, which a lot of people don't know that. But it goes back to the whole, like, do you even understand what you're being told?
Yeah. I mean, her mom, she got taken away, and it's like, she was just driving. It wasn't like she did, you know, DUI or she was doing something bad. She wasn't.
I mean, they don't know they have all these rights, but then you've shared something very, very hurtful to all of us, because you said you've had somebody that had their kid taken away or they were getting deported.
Yeah.
But they were being, you know.
They were, and, you know, it's really sad because they use a lot of things against them.
Right.
Like, one of my patients, her niece got taken into one of these camps, and the way they got her to sign the documents agreeing to be deported was because her child was sick. And they said, well, you need medical care. If you get to Mexico, you'll get it. And it's just like, so sad that
you do that to a child. Yeah.
But it goes back to, like, knowing your rights, right? Could she have called a lawyer? Could she have, and do they even have resources for lawyers, like, in a lot of these situations?
Yeah, they'll think, I call a lawyer, I can afford it. Why am I even gonna bother?
Yeah, that's so true. It costs thousands of dollars.
Yeah, he kept paying money to this lawyer, right? The dad.
Yeah.
And it's like, what ends up happening? And I mean, you know, I really love that she did this book. I think the fact that she's using her fame to put this out there is really admirable, because she has a platform. More people are going to hear her than anyone else, right? And, you know, I really like, when we read Michelle Obama, we were like, oh, when is she going to stop describing her childhood? When is she going to stop talking about her family?
It was a little dreading.
And so when I started with this one and she started the same thing, I'm like, here we go again, you know? But then I realized, you know what? She's teaching you that we're all the same. Right? Whether
parents,
you're
where they come
Hispanic,
from,
whether you're black,
their
whether you're Asian,
struggles.
whether you're white, we all want the same thing. We all want the American dream, right? We all want to have, like, she keeps hoping that her family will be good together.
Right.
We all want our kids to go to school, to, you know, get a career, to live this life. And everyday life is very similar, right? Her parents get home from work, they cook, they all have dinner together. And Michelle
And
talked
the one
about that
sibling
too.
that's a troubled sibling.
Yeah.
Ay, el hermano.
Pues su madre.
But, you know, like, she understands it now as an adult. Like, you know, he's a kid, and I told you guys, I have kids that are undocumented, and they're sitting in my office, and they won't tell me. And I'm a therapist. They go in there, and they're supposed to tell me everything, right? And I had this one little girl, amazing, straight A student, just trying so hard to be perfect. And it goes back to trying to be, like, as white as possible, you know? 3 months into it, mom tells me, you know, she's undocumented, and a lot of those dreams that she has might not be possible.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, it breaks your heart, you know? And like I said, like, she's writing this way, Michelle wrote this way, so that someone that doesn't live around a Hispanic community realizes they're not these monsters. They're just like everyone else. They get home, they play, they eat dinner, you know, they want to go to school, they want to
Pursue
careers, right? And they look at everyone of color, and it's not because, a lot of times it's not because they're being evil or bad, it's because they've never lived around these people.
Right.
Right? When we read Michelle, we're like, oh, well, we don't really, in our community, there isn't a lot of African Americans. And we learned, like, they're just like us.
Yeah.
Right?
No
and
different.
no different. And I think, I love that she did that because, you know, she's out there promoting this book. There's people of all colors that watch her show. And they're like, oh, okay, I like this woman. And they start reading and they start realizing. Because if we don't know about this stuff, right?
Yeah.
How are like, Caucasians gonna know about this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we're Latin, that we should be well aware of our community.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited to keep reading and to kind of see how her family keeps going through this, and I hope her dreams come true.
Yeah, what is something that stood out for you?
I know one of our readers, Ernie, she was saying how she was like, I'm gonna find an organization to see how I can help.
Oh my God,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Ernestina, I was like empowered
And she's
right there. I
ahead.
was
She's
like,
like,
Ernie, you find out, let me know. I want to also join you on that.
Yeah, so that was the thing that we said. Please, like, if you
Share
did
it.
find out things, share it with us. We're about empowerment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even
Right?
being citizens, like, we don't even know where to start to help these people, that are family.
I kind of feel like guilt or like, because we're at a point where we want to do more and more and more. So I feel like now it's a good opportunity to look into that. I mean, it's never too late. So we should do something about it.
So I think, starting to get involved and we are the voices of those that can't speak.
I love that.
And so let's just start speaking. Like, okay, look, so what did my son say? Don't make it too political,
Oh, yeah.
right? And the
Before
reality,
starting this podcast, he mentioned that.
and we might piss people off, right? But I don't care. Like,
I mean, this is what the book is about.
yeah, and it's about what do I believe in. I do believe in empowering people, and if that means you don't have a voice and I will be that voice, I'm gonna use it because they can't.
Yeah.
So
I mean, outside of this book, this is reality.
Yeah.
This is what we're facing.
it's a real story.
the real world.
And so much kudos, and I think that's really empowering to see other people using their platforms and actually using their voice. Like, we're just discovering, like, we're just initiating, like, hey, let's do it. There's people out there that are conquering and actually putting in work.
Yeah.
And that's who I would like to connect with and help, and let's make a difference.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's
going to read just a little quick sentence here that explains why she did it. And her explanation was, I felt like the only child who ever dealt with something so overwhelming. And in the agonizing years that followed, it would have meant everything for me to know that someone somewhere had survived what I was going through. For the thousands of nameless children who feel as forgotten as I did, this memoir is my gift to you. It's as much for you healing as it is for my own. I mean,
so
that's
beautiful.
perfectly well said.
Very well said.
And like you said, your voice, it means a lot. So
let's keep reading.
Yes.
So we're gonna do another podcast to continue going through the pages. Please catch up. If any of this stood out to you, make sure you're posting what stood out, tagging us, so that we can really keep spreading the word. Use your voice.
And thank you so much for reading along with us.
yes,
This
everybody
is
that's
great.
reading along. I want to do a little challenge. In back of her book, there's a cute little girl picture of herself with the cotton candy.
Mine does.
Post the cutest picture you have as a little girl and tag us.
I like that.
I love it.
De
So tag us.
payasita, de Halloween, or de gatita, lo que, or de bailando folclórico, because I have a lot of those.
Share your culture, share your experience, use your voice.
Yes.
Right? Okay, well, thank you and bye, amigas.
Bye,
Talk to you
amigas.
soon.
Talk to
Bye.
you soon.